Hey guys, welcome to another Anon Gaming video. Today we are looking at another Mass Effect Andromeda re-review. We are looking at the Shadow Sniper Rifle. So it's had several changes to it. Obviously we're going to start with stats first. And what instantly shouted out to me was the fact that it's had its base damage at rank 1 increased from 38 damage to 85. Obviously mine's slightly different just because I've got it at rank 4 and I've invested skills in my character, but you can see that it's had more than a double base value update to its damage, which is really nice to see. I'm not really sure how this damage stat is worked out because it's a beam based sniper rifle, as you may know. So I'm not sure whether that's, for example, using my stats, 98 damage per quarter of a second or whatever. So if you do know, please let me know because I am very curious. However, I am rambling. The rest of its stats have stayed the same. So if you're looking at the screen then, 600 rate of fire, 23 max clip size. Again, I don't know how that's worked out because it doesn't last for 23 seconds or whatever. I don't know how they've worked out that max clip size. It's got infinite max ammo, 75 accuracy and 46 weight. All gameplay is recorded on gold just because it's a rare weapon. You're obviously going to want to be able to use it on gold, or what else is the point of packing rare weapons. And 2 tweaks have been made to the gun also. The fact now that the closer it gets to overheating it does more damage, and the fact it now overheats more quickly to probably compensate for that. And yeah, this change here really hasn't done the gun any justice. You may be able to recall your mind back to my first review of the weapon, and I wasn't really a massive fan of it. I found it to be weak. Obviously it does a lot more damage now, and you feel it does a lot more damage, but I just don't like it being a beam based weapon just because you end up having to trace that beam over enemies, and that was a problem for me the first time I played with it, and it's still a problem for me now as of this patch. Also, new problems have opened up, and that's in the form of overheating. The gun feels like it overheats a lot quicker now. As the stat says, it overheats quicker, but it has more damage the closer it gets to overheating. I don't think this is a very good payoff, really. I think they should have not fiddled with the overheating. I think they should have kept it the way it is, because I thought it overheated too quickly to begin with, but now it just seems like you can literally hold down the trigger for 2 or 3 seconds and the gun will have overheated. So I'm not a massive fan of the Shadow still. It can be very effective, as you can see there. If you're able to keep the beam over an enemy for long enough, you can literally wipe them out before the gun overheats, but I just feel like it overheats too quickly, and that is an issue for me. Also, it still has quite a lot of recoil, if I could call it recoil, to the beam. Every time you shoot the beam kind of moves, and that is really annoying because it means you can't really hold it over enemies. It's hard enough to trace that beam over enemies as is, just because of the way the game is made up. Characters run very unsmoothly, they're very unpredictable, so often it's quite hard to trace that beam over enemies. You can only really pull this gun off when an enemy is stationary, ready to jump or behind cover. So the fact that it has that sort of recoil still to it does make it extremely annoying because it just makes it really hard to use the weapon. When it came to overheating, as I've said, I think it overheats too quickly. I think the fact it does more damage the closer it gets to overheating, again, is a general problem, just because it feels like I don't know when that extra damage kicks in, and also I don't think it's worth it because then you just end up overheating the weapon anyway. I really am disappointed by the Shadow because it had a lot of potential, but I think personally it's just a gun that I wouldn't use. I reckon there are people out there that quite enjoy the Shadow for whatever reasons, just because they may be better at me at aiming, etc. I can see it being better on PC, but I'm really just not liking the gun because A, it would be hard enough to use in the first place, but the fact that it overheats so quickly as is, and the fact that the beam has recoil just makes the gun so much harder to use. I'm not doubting that it's had a damage increase. The damage increase has made it a lot more effective, but it's just a gun that just feels out of place. It feels really difficult to use. Often when you're using the gun, you're really taken out of the situation. You're taken out of the game mentally, really, just because you're kind of sat there and you're so concentrated on getting the beam on your enemy, keeping it focused on there, following their every move, and you're not really paying attention to your mini-map, you're not zooming out. You can easily get surrounded by enemies, etc. There's just not a lot of time, especially when playing on gold. I should have mentioned that I am recording on gold because it's a rare weapon. There's not a lot of time to just sit there and kind of like attack one enemy. You kind of like have to keep like shifting your focus, and you can't do that with the Shadow. Also, the shadow feels just out of place when getting up close and personal with enemies, because they often will get up and close to you, because you feel like you have to trace that beam across them, and at close range their movements are obviously a lot more resonant in that scope, a lot more bigger movements because they're more zoomed in, obviously. So it does lead to some scrappy gameplay and some very easy deaths. So that is my review of the Shadow. I'm not a massive fan. I haven't gone into very many specifics. It's been an overview where I've just kind of ranted about how I don't like the Shadow. I think there are people out there who do enjoy the Shadow, so don't necessarily dislike the video, but could you please comment what you find appealing about the Shadow and whether I'm just being a bad player with it, because I would like to enjoy playing with it. I just feel like it doesn't really fit the game, and it just kind of takes me out of the game, and it's just too difficult for me to use. So there we go. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. I hope you have a nice day, and I hope you have had a nice day, and peace out.